Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. It's our Monday, December 8th, 2025 meeting. If we'd all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
And at this point in time, I'd like to introduce the members of the commission that are here this evening. To my immediate right is Commission Member James Fitzsimmons. Next to Jim is Jeff Cohan, also Commission Member. And next to Jeff is Brian Rivard, who is an alternate on the commission. To my immediate left is J.P. Vanoit, who is the Vice Chairperson of the commission. Next to J.P. is Steve Allenson, also a member of the commission. He's our recording secretary. And to the far left is Joseph Sanders, who's an alternate on the commission. At our lower table is Cheryl Ann Tubby, our recording secretary. And next to Cheryl Ann is Kevin Pagini, our town planner. And I'm Jim Seichter, the chairperson of the commission. Our next order of business is to consider the approval of the minutes of our November 10th, 2025 meeting. Any commission members with any comments, questions, adjustments to the minutes? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 10th, 2025 from the Wallingford Planning and Zoning Commission.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fitzsimmons. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All abstentions? With that, we'll go to our first item on the agenda, which is a public hearing, special permit, City of Meriden, 143 Hanover Street. And Mr. Secretary, if you please note all correspondence for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a legal notice, number 405-25, special permit request for the City of Meriden to operate a material storage area at the south end of the Meriden-Markham Airport. R18 Residential District. We have the application for special permit. Correspondence from, thank you. Sorry, these were only sent electronically this time, so it's hard to read these in. We have correspondence from Brian Ennis to the Planning and Zoning Commission via email dated October 24th, 2025. An interoffice memorandum from Thomas Flannery, Senior Engineer, to Kevin Pagini, Town Planner, dated October 30th, 2025. Memorandum from Aaron O'Hare, Environmental Planner, to Kevin Pagini, Town Planner, dated 11/24/2025. Email correspondence from Allison Kapuscinski to the Planning and Zoning Commission, dated December 4th, 2025. Correspondence to Brian Ennis from Vincent Long, dated 12/5/2025. Correspondence to the Planning and Zoning Commission from Robert Baltramitis, PE, Department of Public Works Director, dated December 8th, 2025. And I believe that is all. I'm much faster when I have paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. At this point in time, if the applicant would please introduce himself and begin his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Brian Ennis. I'm the city engineer for the City of Meriden. With me tonight are Public Works Director John Waller and Highway Manager Tim Talento, also with the City of Meriden. And we're here for the application for a soil storage area at 143 Hanover Street. I've got a PowerPoint here. Can I get it set to the screen here for the public? Thank you. All right, in summary, we recently rebid our suppliers for our materials for our Public Works Department, and The new supplier is Haynes Materials in Deep River. They beat out Busillo, so we no longer have a local supplier for our stone and sand and all the other materials that we use for public works projects. So the option of sending a truck over to Busillo and being back in half an hour with 10 yards of stone that we need for a construction project is no longer an option, so we need to have a local area where we can buy in bulk and store it. And the area that we've selected is this piece of 143 Hanover Street. The property is owned by the city of Meriden, but it's located in the town of Wallingford. As you can see here, it's at the south end of Meriden-Markham Airport. It's bordered to the east on Hanover Street, to the south by Chimney Hill Road, and to the west by Grove Street Extension and Chimney Sweep Road, and to the north by the town line between Meriden and Wallingford. We have a plan here done by Stantec that was submitted to the town of Wallingford a couple years back. I believe it was from when we permitted the additions to the hangar area. This shows the entire parcel. The parcel itself is 117.64 acres in size. 107.2 acres of that is located in the town of Wallingford. We have a frontage of 5,420 linear feet on Hanover Street. Of that, 4,095 linear feet is located in Wallingford. It is in an R8 zone, and it is also in a Wallingford Aquifer Protection Area. This map here is a 60 scale. This shows the location of the proposed improvements that we're looking to do at the south end of the airport. And a blown up area here that shows a 40 scale of it. The shaded area in there is the area where we're going to be doing our storage area. We've got a screening area in the center of the parcel. The property itself is very flat, and well, I'm not really sure what you refer to it as. We refer to it as South Meriden. South Meriden is a very sandy soil, so most of the runoff from this property percolates directly into the ground. There is an area, a low spot, where you can see where my cursor is right here, where you would get some runoff that runs into the wooded area to the north. So we are protecting that area with some sedimentation control system, either a silt fence or a core roll that's going to be across the low area to filter through any sediment-laden water that happens to run off from the site. The material is going to be stored in bins constructed of concrete blocks. The blocks are going to be approximately 40 feet by 30 feet into individual bins. Each material is going to have its own bin. We are going to be storing sand, topsoil, processed aggregate, broken stone that's going to be used for construction projects. The side walls of the material are going to be backed with a wood chip berm, which is also going to help with filtration off of the any water that happens to land in the material that runs out will be filtered through the wood chip berm before it exits out of the area. The area itself has one access gate off of Hanover Street. So all the material that goes in and out is going to be going through the gate on Hanover. So because this is material that's going to be coming in from, basically coming up from Deep River, and it's going to be used in the city of Meriden, all the truck traffic that enters and leaves the site is going to be going up Hanover Street directly into the city of Meriden, and will not have any traffic on local roads in the town of Wallingford other than that short section of Hanover Street, which basically runs from the entrance area up to the town line. Right, that's
the extent of your presentation?
pretty much all we have, yes. So I'm open to any questions from the commission or from the public.
I guess my first question would be, how much work have you done so far without a permit?
I believe just about all the work that needs to be constructed has already been done.
What was the reason for doing that without requiring a permit?
I believe that the Public Works Department was not aware that they needed to obtain a permit from the town of Wallingford.
Mr. Bergine, do you have any comment on that?
We met with the mayor of the city of Meriden and the mayor of Wallingford, went out there, and we looked at the project after we were made aware of it. And yeah, we required a special permit. And Inland Wetlands also went out there and inspected the site and looked over the application as well. So there was a considerable amount of meeting between the towns prior to this application. Yeah, they did start the project without a permit.
A good deal of the project's already completed, isn't it? When you, I take it where you said that berm, that cross-hatching up there that looks almost like a C,
Yes,
that's pretty much completed, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah, and you already have quite a few of your bins out there already, too, as well as product on the site. That not correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And I notice on your plans where you have your material storage area, on the plan we have, not that's shown up there, there's, a dotted line coming through the middle of it. What is that for, and what does that represent?
Which dotted line are you referring to, sir? The one that,
Well, I'm looking on the plans that were given to us, you have material storage area. There's a rectangular shape there, and almost in the center of it, you have a dotted line. On the right side, it says material area. On the left side, there's nothing there, so just trying to understand what this is.
there's the plan that I'm showing here. I see two dash lines. The one that bears off to the right is basically, it's just a local access road that comes around to the backside of the
No,
runways.
we're not talking about the same thing, sir. The rectangular box, right here.
Okay, yeah, that would be the area that's cleared. That's
So again, I have the rectangular box on, there's a dotted line coming down, almost the center of it, correct? You can see that?
oh, the blue one you're referring to?
No, I'm referring to the plans that I was given, sir.
Oh, yeah.
This is- These are the plans I was given. Here, you can see right here, there's a rectangular box.
Yes.
There's a dotted line coming down the center, almost the center. To the right, it says material area. What's to the left of that line, on the left side of the box?
That whole box is basically a processing area. If we have to screen or mix any of the materials, that will be done in that area. And the perimeter of the area that's where the material storage bins are going to be located.
Run that by me again as far as the material on your plans. If you could just identify now where the bins are going to be, because you have me a little confused. The bins are not going to be in the material area that you're showing?
No, that's a temporary, that's a handling area. When the material comes in, it will be placed there, and then it'll be segregated into the different bins and along the perimeter of the area.
So then the bins are going to be throughout this area, is that correct?
Correct.
Can you point out specifically where they're going to be is it going to be surrounding the?
Yes, they're going to be along, basically the hatched area here along basically the south, the east, and the west areas. The north is going to be open. You come in the gate here, you're going to come into the processing area, and this area here that's got the crosshatch, that's the area where the bins are going to be located.
Okay, but then where is you mentioned there's a berm. I mean, right now, there appears to be a berm out there, and at least when I drove out there today, it seemed like in that kind of C-shaped area, that seemed to be raised, and it was almost like a berm there. At least, maybe I misinterpreted.
No, the wood chips are going to be along the backside of the storage areas to filter any water that comes in through there.
Okay. And so how many storage bins are you going to have?
I'm not sure of the exact number, but when the application was submitted, we asked for a maximum storage volume of 15,000 cubic yards.
Okay, so that'd be about 33 bins then? Because in your plans, you've indicated each bin is about.
Yeah, they're approximately
450.
450 to
So you'd have-
500 cubic yards
So you'd have
each.
about 30, maybe 33 of them, I suppose?
Yeah, that sounds about right, yes.
All right. Other commission members with questions for the applicant? Mr. Rivard.
Good evening, sir. Thank you. How close is the nearest residential property? Two questions. And then what's the turnover rate of material in terms of, how many times a day are you going to be trucking, big trucks in and turning it over and using it during, say, a high season for whatever your uses are?
The closest residential property is approximately 450 feet away from this area. It's one of the properties on Chimney Hill Road to the south. All the other properties are 700-plus feet away from this area. There is a decent-sized buffer on all sides between where we're going to be doing our work and any of the residential areas. As far as the frequency of trucks, Tim, John, can you help me out with that one?
Hi, I'm Tim Talento, Highway Service Manager. So operations would go through me. We're lucky to be down there twice a week. We'll move material up to 55 Muckle Drive, which is where our public work facility is, and that's where we'll haul things from. So twice a week at most, we're out of there. Springtime, when we're making material, maybe a little more, but twice a week is probably the number.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick follow-up, if it's okay, Mr. Chairman. 450 feet, kind of close. You also mentioned in your presentation about other, activities going on, either machines or mixing or whatever on the site. What are those and what does that entail?
Those are screening machines, but for the record, my name is John Lawler. I'm Director of Public Works for the City of Meriden. Those machines would be screening machines. So if we get in material that has a lot of bony product in it, we might run it through it so it has a little bit more of a fine, and then we'll separate the bony material out and utilize that for another purpose. So it's just an opportunity for us. With respect to the question that the chair had asked earlier, that rectangular area in the middle there is not a structure, it just denotes an activity area. So the activity that I was just describing would occur in that area. And also, while I've got the microphone, I just wanted to correct the record. The question was asked about the number of bins. There's approximately 13 bins out there, not 30. So, and they're each designed and intended. One's to hold sand, one is to hold some other products. So it's not like it's an unlimited supply of what we're trying to do there. There's specific items that we want to try to store and manage.
The 30 number, that's a maximum number. That's
Yeah,
not
no,
what's there
exactly.
now.
I wasn't asking how many were out there right now. It was-
Understood. I just wanted to
how
correct.
many-
Thank you.
How many you could, with what you're looking for, how many in total you could have? That was my question.
I stand corrected.
Thank you.
One last question. The sifting machine, I'm just not familiar with it. Is that a loud machine? I mean, is that something that someone 450 feet away is going to hear? What is that?
It's a machine that we would rent, so it would only come in for approximately 1 week a year. It's not something we would run regularly. And I'm not sure if you would hear it from a residence 450 feet away. And it would only be operated during daylight hours. It's not something that would normally operate at all on weekends, certainly not in the evening, so it would be within the noise ordinance requirements of the Town of Wallingford.
Yeah, and then the last question I have is it Meriden's intent to use this facility in perpetuity in this way, or is this a temporary solution until you can find a better spot that would be, off the property?
It would be our intent. I mean, it's a good use, so it would be our intent to use it for a long period if possible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other commission members? Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to follow up on Mr. Rivard's comments, the material that's stored, is there any type of covering? I'm thinking of a windy situation where, some of this material may blow into, the neighborhood. Is there any type of, top to these bins? And, if not, is this the kind of material, some of the material obviously is not going to blow away in the wind, but, sand and things like that, are there any other materials that potentially could get airborne into the surrounding neighborhood?
The short answer is there are no covers on it. You know, the material that's there does not necessarily become airborne. In fact, my bigger concern in that lane would be the much sandier soil across the street that's in our joint covered landfill, quite honestly. This material is a much larger aggregate in size. We do make efforts to keep down dust control, and we would certainly be aware of it and try to mitigate it if that were to become an issue.
You mentioned the landfill across the street. When I saw this application, that was my first thought. Why not put it across the street where, you know, you have an existing property that sounds like it would fit this use very nicely. That being said, during the summer season, spring, fall, the bins, I think, are pretty well screened from the neighborhood on the south side. But in the wintertime, is there anything on the back side of these bins? It looks like from one of the drawing examples, you do have, you know, grass or something on the back of these. Is that the case where they would be, you know, kind of
It is. The exterior, I think there was a conversation about berms earlier. There are sloped berms that are planted on the outside perimeter of this, so you, from the street, unless you're looking into it, you won't notice the concrete bins until you're inside the yard. Okay. But the perimeter, as you go out around it, all have sloped and have grass on it. We'll keep those trimmed, keep those mowed down, but we'll keep the grass growing, obviously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other commission members? Mr. Fitzsimmons.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to go back to the comments from the chairman, you're here in December and the work was already completed. Are you here because we notified you or you notified us?
We're here because you notified us.
Okay.
Right.
While the work was happening?
I wouldn't say while the work was happening. The material, a lot of the material that's stored there has been stored there for years. It just hadn't been moved around at all. And we're just now trying to repurpose and reuse it and also organize it as a better storage area for other materials, quite honestly. So the material piles that were there have been there for more than 10 years. They haven't been as active as they are now. As soon as Wallingford made us aware that a special permit was required, we immediately engaged with the town of Wallingford and started working. We weren't trying to hide anything. I mean, the material has been there for quite a while. Had we known earlier, quite honestly, we would have come forward with the plan earlier.
Okay. And just to confirm, if I heard correctly, knowing the airport, you know, as you said, about 100 acres is in Wallingford, the airport, is that correct?
107 acres, correct.
And what's the total acreage of the airport?
The total acreage of the property is 117.64 acres.
Okay, so the bulk of it's in Wallingford?
Correct.
All right.
And just as a reference, the area that we're looking at here is approximately 3.5 acres in size.
Okay. A weird question, and I couldn't find it in any of the materials. Does the city of Meriden pay the town of Wallingford taxes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Question to the town planner. Did they file an application fee for the fill and permit? Because I don't see it on the application.
Yes, they did.
They did.
Yes.
And Kevin, through you, why do we also have an application signed by Wallingford's Public Works?
They were going to go in on the application, but they did not. So they just provided a letter of support.
Okay. And then I mean, this is a very sensitive area because this is our Wallingford Aquifer Protection Area. You've stated in correspondence nothing triggers a regulated activity, correct?
There's not going to be any fueling done on the site. There's not going to be any chemicals stored on the site. It's basically just going to be soil and components of stone and things like that.
Did you receive a copy of our application for aquifer protection activity?
Yes.
And someone reviewed it and said none of this applies to us?
None of that applies, yes.
Okay. And then I guess the last question, looking at the other materials, not last question, hours of operation. It's a city area, only going to be accessed by city employees, right?
Correct.
So the hours, maximum hours of operation would be,
Our Public Works Department works usually 6:30 to 2:30. We start in the morning at our lot in Michael Drive, which is in the north end of town. So we punch in at 6:30, they do their, get their marching orders during the day, and 7 o'clock, 7:15 is about the earliest we would be down there.
That is correct, yep.
okay. Okay, and no weekends?
No weekends.
Okay. And then I guess the last question, if I could, Mr. Chairman, through you, looking at the suggested motion from the town planner, can you provide either a bond amount or explain why for a fill and excavation special permit operation, we would not require a bond?
Because it's already done, essentially. If you would like to require a bond, we can. I just don't know, you know, they've already constructed everything, they basically have everything in place. But that would be up to you if you would like to require a bond.
It is standard on this type of application.
Okay, that's fine, we can do a,
That was a statement. You agree or you disagree?
no, I've just never had a full-on operation already basically done before coming to you, so it was sort of a weird situation, I guess.
Would a $5,000 bond be acceptable
Yes.
or higher?
No, I think that's fine, considering the amount of erosion and sediment controls that are on site.
I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm unhappy with the fact it's done, and we're talking about in December, we knew about it in June, but I think I've sat up here enough to know the bond is one of the only things we have, generally. So we would be holding a bond, but it's a very valuable area located fully in the aquifer.
Yeah, that's fine, we can do $5,000 bond.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzsimmons. Other commission members? Mr. Allison?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, as Mr. Pagini stated, this is not typical. So I have a question for our town planner. This is a special permit application, which, from what I understand, grants the commission some unique powers and authority as opposed to just your typical site plan or, you know, just a typical fill and excavation permit. What would happen if we denied this application, since the work's pretty much been done? Would it get referred to legal for action, or?
Yeah,
have
the
we-
general process would apply, so there'd be an appeal period. If they chose to appeal it, it would go to court, and the appeal process would play out.
Okay. And
Obviously,
let's-
you'd have to give, you know, strong reasoning as to,
let's just say worst case, and I'm nothing against the application, I just want to know because I don't know. And what happens if, let's say, there is no appeal? We deny it, there is no appeal, now what? Since it's been
then
done.
it would be in violation, and, or they could reapply, or they would
Okay.
essentially have to,
Okay, and then the fines would start to accrue until the site was remediated.
yes, if we can fine for that type of work, I'd have to double check with our zoning enforcement officer.
Okay. Have you reached out to Corporation Counsel or our zoning enforcement officer about the potential for remediation, or has that not happened yet because you wanted to see what happened today?
We gave them the chance, we met with the mayor, he gave them the chance to apply for a special permit and come to the commission before we initiated any violations to them.
I'm just wondering what we have in the wings. That's
Yeah,
trying to figure that out. Okay. I think I understand where we are. I think. No, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. So I had a couple of questions for the applicant. I noticed our environmental planner sent correspondence on, and excuse me for squinting at my phone, but sent correspondence on November 24th. She references a couple of interesting issues. One was turtle, another one was a plant that were protected. She mentions that, And where is it? It said that, here we go. Prior Inland and Wetland Commission permitting for the subject property incorporated deep protocols relative to protection of 2 species occurring on the property. And then it says, due to ongoing activities, natural conditions have considerably altered in those areas with materials, deposition, and active equipment traffic, so that the presence of the turtle and plant species no longer occurs in the area. So that's changed according to her evaluation. But then she makes recommendations that involve contacting DEEP regarding proper notification and protocols for the box turtle and other protocols. Are you familiar with those protocols and with her recommendations?
Yes, we are, and the exhibit that you entered in, that was the correspondence to me from the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection dated 12/5, was our National Diversity Database request that was submitted to DEP. We received it back last week that there are no species of concern in this property.
Okay. And so prior to this application, you guys started doing work and started going through, and I'm certain I know the answer to this, but during that time, before you came here, was there any notice of any of the protected species in that area?
None.
None.
Thank you. Okay. Last set of questions. I noticed that the application involves sand, compost, storage of certain millings, and I'm relatively, I understand what millings are, but I don't know which types of millings are stored there. So my understanding is that there are certain types of millings that are considered clean millings, and there are certain types of millings that are considered not clean millings. For example, when you pull up a set of pavement, there can be rubber strips, there can be petroleum, there can be all sorts of other stuff in there. How do you ensure that there are clean millings that are being stored on this property?
I'm not familiar with the definition of clean versus dirty millings. I'm only familiar with the definition of millings. Millings would be milled aggregate comes as a result of work that is done as part of road restoration. In fact, a lot of the millings that we had stored on that site, we actually partnered with the Town of Wallingford and provided them to Wallingford for some projects that you were doing. We don't distinguish between the two as you've defined them. The intent would be to temporarily store millings there until we use them for another purpose, whether it's using it as base material, say for example, of the service roads that ring the transfer station, because those have to periodically, either due to ATV activity, illegal ATV activity on the site, or erosion or frost heaving or something like that. If we have to resurface and rescrape the roads, we'll use the millings for those purposes.
So I guess that brings me to the next question. Are the millings coming from previous jobs that you guys have produced, or are the millings coming from?
They're coming from our jobs, and yes, we produce them.
Okay. So they get scraped up, they produce millings, they get put into a pile, they then get transferred to the site.
They get put in the trucks, they get brought to the site, we pile them, and then we repurpose them from there.
Okay. And so as jobs are performed, millings are millings, there's no distinguishing between millings on a job. So, for example, let's say there was a repavement of a fuel filling station, right? That would create millings. Those millings are going to be different than if it's a repaving of, I don't know, let's say one of the roads off of Broad Street.
Correct, but we would never take filling station, we would never take millings from private property. The millings that we produce come from municipal roads only.
And they don't come from municipal lots?
We haven't milled any municipal lots.
Okay. I'm just asking, if you repave a municipal lot, that would generally
I mean,
create?
generally speaking, they come from milling operations on roads.
Okay.
You know, have lots been milled? Yes, we've not milled any lots, but
Okay, so this is what I don't know. That's why I'm asking the questions. Okay. I think I understand. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Other commission members? Mr. Sanders?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And, yeah, the millions was also something that I was curious about. I did a quick search today on what Connecticut standards are, and Connecticut does not class asphalt millions as clean fill anymore because of the exposure to things. And in the interoffice memorandum to town planner from Mr. Flannery, it does mention that the water and sewer divisions have no issue with the proposed project as long as hazardous chemicals or road salts, which may be a source of contamination for the aquifer, are not stored on site. And while the concentration, for example, of petroleum or road salts is not the same in the asphalt millings as it would be in, say, a storage system for road salting for winter, it seems to me, though, that the state's concern is that there's still some potential leaching of that. And I'm wondering if that had been discussed at all, either within our town's consideration or with CTD in basically the statement that we don't need to come before the Aquifer Commission. So it's more of a question from what I don't know, but from also the concerns that I have seen in some quick looking at asphalt millings. And if we're unsure, it may be best to say that those shouldn't be stored there until we're certain on that. Thank you.
can I just ask a point of clarification? The definition that you stated that they're not considered clean, where are you drawing that from? Because I'm not familiar with that definition.
I could get that to you from a search. I did a quick search today, AI generated through, they asked for state references, and they pulled state references from some of the recent environmental guidelines. I don't remember from which agency, but were dated 2024. So it seems like it's something that's a fairly recent update.
Okay. Again, I'm not familiar with a definition that classifies road millings as anything other than clean material.
Yeah, I sent that over, I forwarded, I believe, some of that over to town planner, but I can certainly do that afterwards, and he can send that to you.
I mean, and if that's the case, then we're certainly willing to discuss it further, but then I would question how Wallingford or any other community, how anybody deals with it if everything is considered a hazardous material. So I'd love to see that definition a little bit further.
I believe the definition is a definition of clean fill.
Correct.
It's not, it's not, you know, it does not define the millings themselves. It defines, if you're placing fill on a site, and it requires clean fill, you're not allowed to place material that has asphalt chunks in it. So we're not filling the site, we're just storing the material on site. It's a semantics difference, but it is a difference.
Thank you. Just before I go out to the public, just Mr. Cohen had mentioned if the landfill across the street, if that was considered as a possible site, and I don't believe you'd indicated if that was or not, if that's something you folks had considered.
We did consider it, but there are some wetland implications or boundary separations due to the Quinnipiac that runs along the back side of it. So it was not considered further for those reasons. And also, as I stated initially, a large amount of the material that's currently there had been there already. We're just moving around. In fact, we moved some of the material off and just exchanged it in volume with a different kind of material. But so that was the reason that we were drawn to that site, is the activity had already started there many years ago.
Okay, and then just one last question before I go out to the public. When were you notified that you needed a permit? And since the time you were notified, how much work have you done from the time that it was indicated you needed a permit? And then how much work did you do? And if you did do the work without having the permit, why did you do it?
As soon as we were notified, the activity that we performed was to immediately begin working on the plans that you saw presented both in the application and as Brian presented them here this evening. So that was the work that we had done once we were notified. I want to say it was sometime in the summer. It was brought to our attention by your planner and other elements of town staff. We immediately met to discuss it, and we came up with a course of action to put all the information together and get the application before the town of Wallingford.
No, I understand that, but again, you were working on the plans, you knew there was a permit required. You were working on the plans, you were also then using that site.
It was our understanding that we were allowed to continue to store material there while we waited for the application process to go its due course.
When you say store material, the material that was already there or bringing more material in and out?
We were in the process of screening material, so I think we finished that screening operation within that week, and then we just filed for the process.
So there hasn't been, when was the last activity really taking place on the site? I guess that's really what I'm trying to drive at. Again, you started work on it, you were notified you needed a permit.
We were there this week with block, storing block there. Yeah.
We moved some block material there this week, stored some concrete block material.
The blocks that are the bins will be constructed of.
Okay. All right, at this point in time, before I go out to the public, Mr. Pagini, any comments on the application? Or if you'd like to give us a little bit more background on it, you're certainly welcome to do it.
No, we were notified of the of activity in roughly June, July. Went out, met with the city, myself, Public Works Director, their mayor, these gentlemen, and inland wetlands, and we, kind of looked at the operation. We kind of discussed the permit process. They were willing to obviously do the application. We discussed the aquifer protection with them. I went with, discussed that with Water and Sewer Division. We came to the same conclusion that although identified as unclean fill for certain purposes, this was not a hazardous material as defined by our aquifer protection regs, but the commission's certainly welcome to request a second opinion from DEEP, the Aquifer Protection Agency, if that's needed. But that's basically the premise of it. We met with the reason we went out there with both mayors was because the mayor wanted it to be sort of a friendly, okay, what can we do, sort of deal so we don't ruin relations with the city of Meriden, I guess. So I don't want to speak for him, but that was essentially the impetus of that conversation.
What instructions were given to the applicant as far as what they can do or what they shouldn't do until the application's come before the commission and action was taken?
I don't recall, but they were aware that, they shouldn't be ramping up operations, so I think they were allowed to sort of continue finishing what they were allowed to finish, as long as there were no wetlands involved. Wetlands went out there and did
They were allowed to finish, how were they allowed to finish it if they didn't have a permit?
Well, that's why we're waiting for them to apply, so.
Well, I understand that, but I guess my point is, were they notified that they shouldn't do any more work at the site or not?
Yes. But I don't think it was in writing or a violation status.
So they were notified?
Yeah.
But then obviously you folks said you were doing other things at the site, subsequent activities at the site, correct? Or am I not understanding what you're indicated?
It was not our understanding that we were to not perform any activities as long as the application process was in. That was our understanding.
Is that normally the way the city of Meriden would work if you had, someone involved with the project, you became aware that a permit was needed, you'd say, go ahead, you can apply for the permit, but you can continue your activity?
I can't speak to the permit process and planning in Wallingford or in Meriden, unfortunately.
Okay. All right, thank you. At this point in time, it's a public hearing. Any members of the public would like to speak on the application, please raise your hand. Let me see who would like to speak, and we'll start with this gentleman in the back. And if you could please start with your name and address.
Bob Jakes, Hanover Street, Yalesville. They're here tonight because they got caught with their hands in a cookie jar, so to speak. They've been doing their operation for a while, and they were operating, doing stuff, bringing stuff in even before they got notified. That's why when this operation was going on, the mayor's office got contacted, and they sent somebody down there, and that's when they started ceasing operation, I believe. I also believe that, street sweepings and stuff like this is what's going to be brought in there, turning into mulch and stuff like this from what I understand. There's going to be a smell there during the summertime, regardless of what they're saying is going to happen, I believe. The thing is traffic also. He says traffic is going to be coming in from the Meriden side or whatever. No. If they're picking up stuff over on the east side of Meriden or whatever, they're going to go all the way around? No. They're going to take a shortcut, come down Broad Street, come down Oak Street or whatever. We've got enough traffic as it is on Oak Street and Hanover Street between semi-trucks going from there. And it's a shortcut anyways from Meriden to 68 as it is. So traffic's going to be a problem regardless of what they're saying if they're doing on the other side. Like I said, street sweepings is another thing in the operation that they were doing this before they got notified. They've been setting up and doing this for a while. There's been videos and pictures sent to the mayor's office on this. The traffic is going to be one thing because traffic is horrendous right now on there, and I don't buy it. I just don't buy it. And Meriden has been a bad neighbor. I mean, you've had the landfill over there, which is closed down now. You got the sewage plant down the street. You got the nursery over there, which is Wallingford owned, but half's in Meriden, half's in Wallingford. And we get semi-trucks constantly going up and down because of that. Airport, that's another thing. I know this is a different application, but with the airport, when they did the runway before resurfacing, I don't buy it. They extended that runway. I believe they did when they did the resurfacing. Reason why is because ever since that day, planes have been coming in lower. My neighbor across the street told me the plane came in, and he saw this pine tree, the top of it, waving from the plane coming in. And plus they got bigger planes. Plus you guys approved the hangars, so now they got more traffic coming in and bigger planes coming in. But this application is just going to be another headache. And I wish you people would deny it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Other members of the public would like to speak. That's this gentleman in front.
My name is Dan LaBelle. I live at 7 Chimney Hill Road with my beautiful wife. And one thing that I've noticed, I've lived there actually all my life. I grew up on Mountain View. And the amount of planes that come over that area has increased exponentially. And I brought up in one meeting about how the noise is become very, in fact, my wife will tell you, I go outside to put earplugs in my ears because the noise, these planes sound like Harley Davidsons going over your head all the time. So the noise is one thing. And now, the other question is, why bring Meriden into Wallingford? They got plenty of places in Meriden they can do this stuff. They got the sewer department. Down the road, they got the landfill we got motorcycles in there. Talk about noise. We're going to add more noise to the situation by having all this action. And I don't think that, as a resident, I think I'm up to here on the noise that I got to deal with. And I don't think that that's going to help by them, putting in this process station. Why don't they got a transfer station over there? Why not put it over there? There's room. There's plenty of room in there. Just because they don't want to go to Busillo and go back and forth in truck, there's nobody out there in Busillo. Nobody. We're a residential area. We've got all this stuff going on. The airport, motorcycles in the dump, the sewage department. It's like I say, how much more do we have to take? I'm a lifelong Wallingford resident. I love the town. But like I say, this is getting to be too much. And as far as I'm concerned, they can take, and there's plenty of places in Meriden. They don't have to come to Wallingford. We've got enough to deal with in Wallingford. Keep your stuff in Meriden, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Other members of the public? After this gentleman, anyone else who would like to speak? This sir over here? Okay. We'll go with you first, sir, and then we'll go to the young lady over here, then we'll go to that gentleman over there.
First of all, I want to say this guy is a
Sir,
liar.
if you, please, your name and address, please.
Domenico Ragozzino, 2 Oak Street, Yellowsville. Number one, whatever they got all the stock, because I'm not even 20 feet from Hanover Street, 20 feet. As soon as they got a little problem, they got all the stuff, they move all the way back. 2, you can hear the noise of the screening machine, loading, unloading, bell doors, the whole 9 yards. Like when there's a little wind, even the wind pushes the dirt on the road. When you go through there, it's a rainy day, there's a mud everywhere. I had to go clean my car a couple of times. Another lie again.
Sir, let's not, sir, sir, please, just for a minute, let's not disparage people.
That area on the 68th and Hanover Street, not everyone, most of them go married then, but they go through on the 68th and Hanover Street. And when they go through there, they shakes so bad, the dust, they come on the water because of the old pipes, the shakes, and I had the water company come over. They plug my sink, my dishwasher. I know it's not their fault because the truck is too heavy. Again, maybe I'm not even kind of mad at Wallingford. I'm kind of disappointed with you guys from Wallingford. You let them do this. You let them do at the area board whatever they want. You let the area in Hanover Street is the most worst pig street. They dump in the boots, sofa, living room, shingle roofing. You don't cut the grass. As soon as you reach Meriden area, you can see the grass clean on both sides. Beautiful. On this side is like a dump. Beers, cans everywhere. I think you guys should take care a little bit. Start, I don't know, start arresting people. Give a ticket. Just, you got to take care of the area. Because I feel we'd be, I don't know if we're part of it now Wallingford anymore. I love this Wallingford. I've been living there from 1974. It was the best. Not anymore. And this is the greatest. Streets are dirty. Oh, this is not true. They work once in a while. It's not true. They work at the 10 o'clock at night. You know what I know? I went through there. They had these spotlights. These are big spotlights. I look. I said, what's going on over there? They was screening and loading the truck at 10 o'clock at night. And that's the God of the truth. I'm not lying. With these big spotlights, that's why I realized. And the past 2-3 months, they push all the stuff back on the other side. But before, it was right near the fence. Not 400 feet to 700 feet. I was at 20 feet. And the miller, I know what's that miller, because they come from the 68 to this huge truck when they do the road. I don't know, they give to them, they buy whatever. This got all oil, petroleum, and every other stuff in there. So I think you guys should check that out. Plus, we live in a residential area. We don't need it. When you live in residential, you guys live in residential area, beautiful. I live in residential area. I have to listen to all this. There's too much going on today. I think you guys should do something about it. It's too much.
Thank you, sir. And we'll go to this young lady on the side here.
I'm Diane LaBelle. I'm 7 Chimney Hill Road as well. I have a few questions about the taxes, because this is being put in a residential area and in an R18, I believe, zoning. I tried to appeal my taxes, and they denied it. They said that we live in a very nice neighborhood. I think one of your board members said, oh, I live over on Highland somewhere over. I hear the planes, you know, oh, yeah, they're loud. But I don't know their operation, what time they're going to start, what time they're going to end, trucks coming in, dumping bins, whatever they're going to be doing. 6 o'clock in the morning, it starts with the planes. Okay, on a Sunday, Saturday morning, you're in bed, you hear this coming over, you have trade winds flying in now with probably more of a commercial airline. They come in at 5:30 in the morning, so you're probably clueless to a lot of this because you don't live like 350 feet from the airport. I'm going to be 350 feet, my bedroom, from their operation. And I just want to make sure I have grandkids, and I want to make sure they're going to be safe. I don't want any kind of chemical. I don't want any kind of noise, especially early in the morning. So if they can promise an operation that starts like at 9, I'd be happy with that. But if they start rolling in at 6:30 in the morning, for residential, I don't think that's appropriate. Okay, I don't think I live in a commercial area. I don't want to live in a commercial area. I'd like to move if I could. But with the housing right now, nothing's movable. So I just wanted to make that to mention what kind of operation they're doing now. I can see it's going to stay like 13 bins now, could be 20 bins down the road, and it could extend. So that's just my concern, is the noise level of what's going to happen on top of the airport being noisy enough and traffic-wise. So just safety and concern about that. Thank you.
Good enough, thank you. And this gentleman here to the left. After this individual, anyone else who would like? Sure.
Good evening. Mike DeGennaro, 128 Grove Street Extension. While they were preparing their site work illegally, because they did not have a permit, we were forced to listen to dump trucks, tailgates slamming, excavators running, tracks. And it was throughout the summer. So when you're out there in your backyard enjoying your time, I look from the west, my house is elevated, I look directly into what they're working on. I can see their berm, I walk down there. Casertano, that road, access road, that gate is never closed. I know it's not their fault. Tractor trailers are in and out of there, especially in the growing season, 24/7. They'll say they're not, but they are. The airport, I know they have nothing to do with the airport. The hangars were forced down our throats. We were against the hangars. The hangars have increased the amount of planes. You can't tell me by adding these bins, they say they've been storing material down there. Okay, there was some material down there illegally. I'm dead set against it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. Like everybody else has said in the room, we've put up with enough noise in our area. I've grown up in this area since 1971. I knew the airport was there. When I built my house in 1990, I knew the airport was there. The airport doesn't bother me. Now it's starting to bother me because of the extra traffic. We're going to be adding more traffic. They say they're coming in from Meriden only. Who's going to enforce it? When you tell me that you have Haynes Construction coming in and delivering your materials, that guy's not going to come through Meriden. He's going to come down 91. He's going to come 84 through the back roads, right down Chimney Hill, right to their lots. Please reject this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And
I'm just going to be quick. Sure. So we love our neighborhood. We love to live over there.
Before you're quick, excuse me, before
I'm
you're
at
quick.
1 Bailey Avenue, Wallingford. And they are coming, they're trying to ruin our neighborhood, and we don't like it. The taxes just went up, and my little house that I have over there went up $1,000, and now I have to put up with all this stuff. I don't like it. Please deny it. Quick, short, and please, 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 please.
Thank you, ma'am. And this gentleman in the back. Anyone else that would like to speak? That being said, this individual will be our last public speaker, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Pogorzelski, I live on 158 Chimney Hill Road. My wife and I moved here recently. We just moved here in May, so I can't really speak to a lot of what the long-term residents here have experienced, but I want to just thank the council for asking such inquisitive questions, especially the two gentlemen at the end regarding the millings and possible contaminations. My wife and I, we have well water, and we are a little worried about that, and we think that if it's allowed to go through, kind of, Mr. Ellison, what you were saying, you can't really verify where the stuff has come from, and if they're starting to pick up material from all over without any kind of enforcement, whether it's considered hazardous in a fill form, I think it should be treated to the highest standards because it's going to be sitting there on the lot. Rainwater is going to rain on it. Stuff will leach into the ground. Stuff will leach into the aquifer where we get our water. So that's primarily what our main concern is. But also to echo some of these other concerns, I do believe what some of these people had said, that the trucks will take the most convenient route that they can, including through our neighborhoods, as well as with that increased traffic, there'll be potholes and noises and smells and things of that nature. So just hope that you guys all take that into consideration as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I guess at this point in time, you've heard some of the comments from the members of the public. If you'd like to address some of those comments, if you feel you haven't already.
I guess I'll just summarize by saying we understand the concerns. We feel we've addressed them. We feel we've committed to addressing them. I think some of the statements are understandably, the people are passionate. I'm not sure that passion necessarily is factual in a lot of the comments, but I understand their feelings. I absolutely do. The presentation that we made, the plans that we brought forward to you, I acknowledge that should have been done a while ago. As soon as it became knowledge to us that we needed to do that, we absolutely wanted to be good neighbors. We're in the same business as you are. We're a municipality, we're a government just like you are. We're not trying to shirk it. Both our leaderships came together immediately. We immediately put all of our efforts into coming up with a plan. So we are good neighbors, contrary to what some folks might feel. We're in the same business you're in. We're just trying to be as diligent about it. We're trying to do all of the things that, our constituents want us to do. When I say ours, I don't mean ours as in Meriden only. I mean ours as in Wallingford. We're trying to reuse material. We're trying to repurpose things. We're trying not to waste things. In order to do that, in order to be a good steward of all those environmental things, we have to be able to lay material down, screen them, process them, reuse them, right? That doesn't happen by accident. This is a tremendous plan. This is a tremendous opportunity. We've afforded it to your community. We've allowed your community to be part of some of those activities so that you too could benefit from reusing. Cut down on your costs, be better environmental stewards, of the land that we've got. That's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to shirk anything. We're not trying to avoid anything. We're not trying to end run anything. We're trying to be good neighbors and do all what's in best. And I hope that comes through both in the comments we made and in the plans that we provided. And just know at the heart of it all, that's what we're trying to accomplish here.
You heard some questions or concerns about just the traffic on the roads. Obviously, you folks have control over the...
So that traffic is our traffic.
No,
Right.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
You have control over the people, the City of Meriden employees. But, again, one of the gentlemen mentioned perhaps having some of your vendors bringing material on there. Is that something that happens?
No, so we're not planning on having vendors bring material there. We're simply buying material from an out-of-town vendor, so we need a place to store it so we don't have to constantly truck all the way from Haynes. So those are our trucks hauling material to our location.
So you're buying,
So we
just so I-
can't
just so
control
I
them.
understand, you're buying the material from Haynes, they're not delivering it, your trucks are picking it up
Correct.
and delivering it. So that's something that you have full control over as far as what direction or what roads the trucks use.
That's correct. And quite honestly, this is the first time we've bought from a non-local quarry in a very, very long time. And I'm hoping that it won't happen, you know, beyond December, quite honestly. I'm hoping that the next time it gets rebid by our purchasing department, it goes back to a local vendor and, you know, that amount of traffic then gets negated from the equation.
Okay. Any further questions, comments from commission members? Mr. Fitzsimmons.
I'm not familiar with, is it Haynes?
Yes.
Can you explain who they are?
Haynes, they're a material supplier.
Okay, so you, if I understand correctly, to follow up to the chairman's questions, so you'll purchase material from them?
Correct.
I guess I was thinking when we started, it was your material from your projects, zero.
It is both. It is both. So the bins would have some clean crushed gravel. Some of it would come from Haynes. The majority of the material that's there would be our stuff from our projects. So I think we're focusing a little bit too much on the material that comes from Haynes. I think that is the smallest part of any activity that happened out there.
Okay, I have a couple, please let me finish. So other than Wallingford, are other municipalities accessing Meriden for millings?
No.
And when you did it with Wallingford, was it, forgive me, was it a sale or a favor? Did we buy the material from you?
It was mutual aid. No, you did not.
Okay, like mutual aid. Okay, and then to follow up with the chairman's question, so for truck traffic on a special permit, which this is a request for, I can recall when we had Walmart come in, because Walmart owns its own trucks, we had them file as part of the application a truck route map, so it would be approved. Would you agree to file that, since it was not submitted as part of this application, saying, here's the approved truck traffic for people, for truck drivers, whether they're from the city of Meriden, or if you, in the future, something were to happen, you'd say, here's our approved route, and everyone, it would be shared with all appropriate participants.
Yeah, I mean, if you'd like, I could develop a written policy that directs the people within our department, the route in which they can use, and I could share that policy with you.
So that would be an okay condition of approval, that we would, the town would receive
Yeah.
a written, please let me finish, a written, truck traffic's important. I grew up on the west side, I know what they're talking about, I know the airport, I know this area, and this type of operation, since, I mean, I wish we were having this conversation in May before everything started in June, but we didn't. But I think part of it is, I listen to the public, I know people get crazy, and I'd be one of them, about truck traffic, right? Because it's noisy. It's and so I think they're right. You're in a residential zone. So I think it's important that we take every safeguard, since you're finally here before us since December, to make sure that we protect our citizens. You own the property in Wallingford, you're operating in Wallingford, so I think it's kind of our rules. So on the truck traffic, you'd be agreeable to file with the town of Wallingford an approved truck traffic plan, traffic route, whatever you want to call it, that you would instruct your city workers to follow.
I'd like to suggest that instead of it being a route, that it be a policy, so the policy is more encompassing. My concern with the route is there's really only one route to get there, so it's simply going to be from Main Street and South Meriden to the gate. I can make it broader, and I can provide more guidance by making it a policy that any of our trucks utilizing that, no matter where they come from in Meriden, come down that route. So, but I'll provide that to you in any form you'd like.
All right, and if you need to, the town planner's office can share with you what Walmart filed. So it basically says that the truck traffic will access this way, enter the site, exit the site that way. One other comment I thought about when I heard the public speaking, in the event, and God bless, because you guys are for Public Works, if we have a bad winter, this site would not be used for excess snow removal.
No.
And that'd be an okay condition?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. 5 other sites.
Yeah, we have designated as part of our emergency operations plan, we have designated DEP-approved sites for temporary snow storage, and this is not one of them.
Okay. So would,
Because it's not in the city of Meriden, it's in the town of Wallingford.
okay.
Now, if you wanted to use it,
We'll talk.
we would be
We
happy
have our
to
own
consider
sites.
it. Okay.
I'm pretty sure we have our own sites, but I just, you know, it took a while to get you in the seats, so I want to make sure we kind of cover everything. If we can go back to the hours of operation, so it's a city site in our town, you were saying 7 to 3?
Yeah, we would be between the hours of 7 and 3. I'm not quite sure what your noise ordinance hours are, but in my experience with all the municipalities I've been engaged with, usually the earliest hour for an operation is 7 o'clock. I think the only exception is made for like recycle or trash collection. But we're not starting at 5 in the morning. I don't anticipate we would ever be there earlier than 7. And contrary to the comment that was made about working at 10 o'clock at night, I don't know who that was, but it wasn't us. I don't know whether that was something that was done on the operating engineer site, but I can tell you I pay the guys that work out there, and I did not pay somebody to work till 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
So our activity a reasonable workday would end at 3 o'clock. The latest we would go would be like 5 o'clock.
Okay.
But our normal day would be 7 to 3, just like.
Okay. And then I guess, looking at the materials that you presented and shared with us, what is the maximum amount of stored material you expect to have on site?
15,000 cubic yards is what we've calculated. So that calculation is based on the crown or the crest of those piles not being any taller than the fence, and it being, you know, the volume of those areas that are defined in that C shape that was shown on one of those plans.
Okay. And then I have the Town of Wallingford zoning book in front of me, page 213. I just want to make sure you're aware, and I want to say it here. Any permit issued hereunder shall expire 1 year from the date of publication of notice of approval unless renewed by the commission. So you realize this is a 1-year approval, according to our regs.
I was not aware of that, no.
Okay. And so that would mean next year,
We get to apply again.
next year, not to let it expire, we would expect you to reapply. It's not necessarily a public hearing, but we would expect an application before it expires, because it's only a 1 year. According to our regs, these approvals are 1 year from the date of publication of the notice of approval. So it's Christmas time. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzsimmons. Other commission members, any comments? Mr. Rivard.
Just to follow up on the comments on noise, the sifting machine, you guys have said stuff has been there for 10 years or so. Has the sifting operation and all that stuff been ongoing as it would going forward, or is this something new that's starting now?
The screening operation that we currently plan on doing, we would rent a screener. We'd probably rent it for a week or 2 weeks a year. It's not a piece of equipment we own. We have a small little screener that we probably wouldn't use down there, but the larger screener would be a rented piece. So it would not be 12 months out of the year.
Okay.
Any other commission members? Just kind of piggybacking a little bit on Mr. Fitzsimmons' comments as far as hours of operations. You've heard some comments from, you know, the members of the public as far as the noise there, you know, with the airplanes and that. And again, that's not part of this application. I've fully realized that. But given that it is in a residential area, close to residences, as far as how much of an impediment would it be to your operation, instead of starting here at 7 o'clock, you started at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock? What kind of an impact would that have, or would it be something that you could work around and be willing to start a little bit later in the day or in the morning than, say, perhaps at 7 o'clock?
So if I can ask a question before I answer, do you know, or does anyone present know what the current noise ordinance is for the town of Wallingford? Do you know what that start time is?
I'm not sure what it is, but I suspect, Mr. Pagini, it's probably 7 o'clock. I suspect that you're...
It's 7 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect that your 7 a.m., our noise ordinance is at 7 a.m. You know, that's the requirement. What I'm asking, though, is to give some perhaps consideration to the neighbors. Obviously, if the noise ordinance says 7 a.m., it doesn't say you have to start at that time. That's the time that you could start at. I'm just looking if there's some consideration you're willing to give to the neighbors.
Absolutely.
Well, that consideration, then, are you willing to do that?
Are we willing to make consideration to start later? We could do that, yes.
Okay, and what would you be willing to do on that if we asked you to start at 9 o'clock?
I'd ask it to be 8 o'clock and not 9 o'clock. I mean, we already end our day at 2:30, so you're talking about a very truncated day. Would you consider making the application longer than 1 year? Because quite honestly, the activities that we're trying to do, if we're shortening our day, we're not able to get everything done. So what we would normally expect to get done in a season now is going to take us longer than that. So.
Sure. Well, I guess at this point in time, because we have our regulations, we're not in a position to say we'd be willing to extend your application for more than a year. But certainly you have the flexibility, because it's your application, to say, in this particular point, you'd be willing to start no earlier than 8 o'clock. And is my understanding you're agreeable to that?
I'm agreeable to 8 o'clock, yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really wasn't going to say anything further, but, you know, when you mentioned 15,000 cubic yards of material, will you have that amount on site all the time, or is that the maximum that you could have?
That's the maximum we could have. We don't have any intention of having that much. We just had to state what the maximum limit was, so we had to make sure that, you know, and quite honestly, we've included some space in there should Wallingford want to use it as well. So quite honestly, we've considered some of your usage in that number, but it would not exceed that. And no, I don't expect that we would have that amount on hand all the time.
And the reason I brought that up is Wallingford had a storage area off of Hartford Turnpike. I guess they called it the dog pound or something like that years ago, and, you know, slowly over the years it expanded until, you know, it came before us and we put a stop to it. And I just want to make sure that that does not happen at this site. It appears to me that you've basically maximized, you know, the area with the plan you're submitting, and you can't really do any more at this site. You can't really get over more than 15,000 cubic yards. I just want to, you know, make sure that it doesn't just slowly expand like the situation we had in Wallingford.
Well, the area that we've got laid out currently on the east, south, and west, we're pretty much already at the fence line of the property.
Right.
The only way to expand would be to expand to the north, and then we're getting too close to the runways.
Yep.
The airport would not let us go any further to the north.
Okay, that was my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mr. Pagini, any final comments, questions, concerns?
No, I was just going to mention the hours of operation, but I think you just covered that, so.
I think we moved the hours of operation to 8 to 3.
Okay.
And with that, before I close the public hearing, you gentlemen are free to make any final comments before I close the public hearing. Certainly, you've made quite a few comments, so at this point in time,
well, we just thank you for your time and consideration, and we regret that, you know, we didn't come here sooner, and we apologize, but we certainly do, we do welcome the opportunity to be able to present it, and thank you for hearing us.
okay. At this point in time, and in fact, Mr. Benoit had indicated that he is going to abstain on this application, so I'd ask Mr. Sanders to participate in Mr. Benoit's position. So again, at this particular point in time, I'd entertain a motion to close our public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cohen. Voting beginning with Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
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 And yes, and at this point in time, I entertain a motion on the application.
Mr. Chairman, I move the commission approve a special permit request for excavation and filling of land for material storage at 143 Hanover Street on plans entitled Special Permit Application Material Handling Area dated 8/2/2025, subject to the following. Number 1, comments from Town of Wallingford Environmental Planner Aaron O'Hare, dated November 24th, 2025. Number 2, comments from the Senior Engineer Tom Flannery, Wallingford Water and Sewer Division, dated 10/30/25. Number 3, that an anti-tracking pad construction entrance is added to the final site plans to ensure that no dust or dirt is being tracked onto Hanover Street. Number 4, 6 copies of the final plans to be forwarded to the Wallingford Planning and Zoning Office. Number 5, posting of a $5,000 bond for sedimentation and erosion controls. Number 6, the limit on the amount of stored materials of the site to be limited to 15,000 cubic yards of fill. Number 7, no snow removal or snow storage is allowed on the site. Number 8, hours of operation agreed to and limited to 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, no weekend or holidays. Number 9, the renewal of the permit is to be requested prior to December 1, 2026. And number 10, applicant to provide the Town of Wallingford Planning and Zoning Office a detailed truck traffic plan outlining preferred route to avoid any trucks using any roadway in Wallingford within 60 days of this approval.
We have a motion on the application. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Cohan. Voting beginning with Mr. Cohan.
Yes.
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 And yes, the application's been approved, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
And at this point in time, I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Pagini to wrap things up, if you would.
Okay, so the next item is the consultant for the POCD. I will let him introduce himself, but he'll be doing a presentation to get the commission acquainted with the POCD process for the 2036 update.
And sir, if you could just wait a few moments until some of the members of the public are cleared out. And with that, please introduce yourself and give us your presentation.
My name is Jacob Robison. I am a consultant for the city. I work for Colliers Engineering and Design. I'm a city planner, and I will be the project manager for the upcoming Plan of Conservation and Development. And I'm here to present to you all today. Yep, the presentation is up. On just kind of acquainting you with the process for. Okay. Acquaint you all with the process of the plan and just kind of give you some information on the plan itself and hear some any feedback that you have on the plan process or things to consider moving forward. Okay. There we go. All right, so an overview of the meeting. So welcome and introductions. What is a POCD? I recognize that some of you may not have been on the Planning and Zoning Commission for the last POCD. And going over the plan process and approach to the POCD this time and the next steps moving forward. And if anyone has any questions, just feel free to stop me and ask your question, or else we can go over questions at the end. So my name is Jacob Robison. Again, I'll be the project manager. I've been working with Kevin on the project team and the city team, the town team, excuse me, for a couple meetings, and the town team will be responsible for the overall project management and delivery of the project and help to coordinate between myself and stakeholders and help kind of connect us with the community during our public engagement process, and also you all and the steering committee, and help us organize public meetings. So our role in the plan is the primary point of contact between the town of Wallingford and stakeholders. We will collect all feedback from stakeholders and process it during the plan process. We will lead community engagement activities. We just had a steering committee meeting before this, so we've been working today already. Worked toward the technical analysis of the plan, with creating the existing conditions of the plan and development of the actual plan for the plan document for the next 10 years moving forward. So what is a POCD? It is a plan of conservation and development. It is required by state statute to be updated every 10 years for the town to be eligible to receive discretionary funding. There was one updated 10 years ago in 2016, and that is why we are updating it now. So POCDs are primarily to determine future land use. It is the reason why every planning application must kind of abide by POCD visions, but it also considers transportation, housing, open space, recreational space, city services, and a lot more. It's a comprehensive plan. It's comprehensive in nature to any sort of issue that is going on in Wallingford. It makes recommendations for the next 10 plus years. Normally, as POCD cycles go, they are updated every 10 years, but we recognize that the development of the town doesn't happen on a 10-year basis, and that some recommendations will last longer than 10 years. And every POCD must be consistent with regional and statewide POCDs, which we will help Wallingford make sure that this upcoming plan is consistent. So an overview of the plan process and approach. From kind of an overall process view, usually there are three parts of the process. It starts with community visioning, going out to the community and asking them what their vision of the town is going forward for the next 10 years, working with that information, as well as GIS analysis, land use analysis. We create a existing conditions report of kind of the comprehensive issues that are going on in Wallingford, and then moving on to the actual plan itself, which makes recommendations for the next 10 years plus moving forward. So kind of breaking down the planning process, we do envision that the community visioning process has a lot of different ways to reach out to community members. We feel that that is the best way to reach as many community members as possible, and also have the best, highest quality conversations we can have with them. So different ways include steering committee meetings. There will be 4 steering committee meetings within the next 4 months. Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. We're coming to you now to introduce you to the process and hear some feedback moving forward. And then in kind of February, March time, we'll come and talk to you about preliminary recommendations. Website and online engagement. There already is a website up, and we will have the survey available for the upcoming public meeting on Thursday. So talking about public meetings, there will be one on Thursday, and then there will be one kind of at the same time as the next PZC meeting, where we will present in February and March, and then there will be one before plan adoption. And we will also be going out to the public to kind of pop up at events that are already existing, such as the farmers market at the Arsenal. Is that what it is?
The Armory.
Armory, at the Armory, and sorts of things like that, where we can set up a table and hear feedback from people in the community. And we will also be meeting with various stakeholders, convening about 6 or 7 stakeholder groups throughout the process to have kind of smaller conversations about thematic issues. So as I mentioned, the website is available now, and will be promoted at the public meeting. So it's wallingford2036.com if you want to take a note of that. I'm sure Kevin can also send out the website link to you all. And then moving on to the existing conditions analysis, we will be looking at development characteristics, the current housing needs of the community, the current housing offerings and the housing needs, open space and natural resources in the community, multimodal transportation, whether you're pedestrian, driving a car, riding a bike, taking transit, what sorts of opportunities there are there and what ways to improve them. Municipal services, reaching a broad range such as recreation, health, education, cultural, social services, et cetera, all sorts of things that the community offers to residents, and utilities as they're very important for the development of the town. And then moving forward toward the end of the plan, creating the actual comprehensive plan document itself, creating recommendations for physical and economic development, multimodal transportation, as I mentioned before, the future land use plan for the town, future housing needs and municipal service needs, and an implementation plan that kind of has a real guide toward creating an actual plan to implement the visioning that we do through the visioning process, and kind of lay it out into steps in ways that are trackable and make sense for the community. So the plan timeline, as you all know, the current POCD sunsets in mid-June of next year. So what we're looking at is doing most of the planning process for the next four months from now, to be able to submit to you all 65 days before the hearing of adopting the plan, which would be sometime in late May of next year. But yeah, so here's kind of just a chart of the timeline that I previously discussed. So talking about the previous POCD, something that we talked with the planning project team about was the previous POCD was arranged thematically, so it had separate chapters for housing, economic development, conservation, transportation, and et cetera, where it analyzed those issues on a citywide scale. And it was heavily map-oriented. There are a ton of maps of showing issues around the town, and it didn't really drill down on different portions of the town. So it depicted a lot of broad citywide recommendations. And the recommendations themselves lay out strategies, but do not envision specific outcomes. There's not a lot of graphics to kind of support what the recommendations are in the last plan. So in talking with the town project team, we suggested, they suggested that we arrange this upcoming plan by land use districts, and the chapters each will be each of 7 distinct land use districts that were analyzed by Mr. Pagini, and kind of make recommendations for the within those different themes that we talked about for each land use district. Something that we find also is important for this upcoming plan is using kind of using maps, but having citywide maps, and also having maps that are drilled down to different portions of the town, and also providing graphics to demonstrate the outcomes of different recommendations so that they're more kind of tangible, is going to be important for this plan. And then for the implementation of the plan, we feel that kind of breaking the plan down into vision, goals, and strategies, which all kind of are refined upon each other, kind of break it down from that grander vision of the municipality in 10 years, kind of breaking it down into what are the different goals that need to be reached to reach that vision, and then what are the individual strategies, the actions that make up those goals that are actually like the tangible, trackable actions that come from those goals. So next steps, we do have a public meeting, which I would love for any or all of you to join. It's going to be on Thursday at 6 at the Wallingford Public Library, if you're interested in coming. But for next steps, in between now and the next time I see you, we will have all of these individual public engagement portions of the plan that I talked about. We will be conducting a needs and opportunities analysis after that, kind of as an in-between step between working on the existing conditions and making the draft master plan. And then at the next public meeting, we will be presenting draft recommendations for the plan. And that's it. Any questions, comments?
Yeah, I just have a question. As far as the public meeting that's this Thursday, December 11th, how much publication or notice has it been given to the public? From my standpoint, I think I'm fairly familiar as far as what goes on in what meetings we have. It wasn't until last week that Mr. Fitzsimmons indicated to me that there in fact was a meeting this Thursday, December 11th. So how much publication has been given to the public?
Yeah, so the town has published on multiple social media outlets a flyer for the public meeting. Kevin has sent out emails to various listservs. So there's been a bit of notification of the public.
So what you're telling me is I'm not social media savvy, I guess.
I'm not sure. I don't think
that's
I'm social media savvy either. I don't catch a lot of things that people ask me if I saw. So, but yeah, I mean, we just started the planning process about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we felt that it was really important to meet with the public sometime before Christmas, so we get the public on board and start hearing from them before Christmas, as this is kind of a very abbreviated master planning process. So normally what we like to do is advertise like at least a month before the public meeting, and certainly we will do that for the next public meeting. But this kind of the way this plan fell, it kind of, you know, we advertised about, when was the flyer posted? About a couple weeks ago? Yeah, so it was more like 3 weeks before the planning, before the actual public meeting. So it was close, but, you know, we certainly could, it's important to let the public know way ahead of time of public meetings so that they're able to make plans to get there.
Any questions, commission members? Mr. Fitzsimmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jacob, when was your firm retained by the town?
As far as like an actual contract, we're still working that out right now.
Okay. Let me direct a question to the town planner. When was the RFP awarded?
September 30th, and they were selected the day after.
Okay. I'm going to share with you, Jacob, the same thing I said to the last applicant. I wish you were here in June. I did want to say at the steering committee meeting 2 hours ago, I think the timetable is unrealistic. And I know you had mentioned, a question came up because our current plan is on the books, and it kind of, the anniversary of the expiration will be June of '26. I think we need to notify anybody who's necessary, whether it's from the town planning office or you, to notify the state that we've just begun and that we're going to need an extension. I think, as I look at the timetable, to have our meetings with the public meetings, December, January, and February, it's a really tough time, right? I mean, I know everything's different, but I just think it's too short and too important to condense and try to have everything done in May. And to meet a June deadline, ideally, we would have, as a commission, been talking about it in June, the fact that we had 1 year to update it. But to see you here December is difficult, right? And so I don't know if that is a role for you or the town planner to notify, the state OPM. I mean, Governor Lamont just signed the new housing bill. We've got to incorporate that into this, and they're still interpreting that. So I think it's very realistic for us to request an extension.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that certainly is a very abbreviated timeline, and that we will reach out to the state. Kevin and I will work together to establish communication with the state. And yeah, I mean, as I said, we just kind of with the purchasing process, which can kind of drag out, as I'm sure you're aware, we were just able to set up a project kickoff meeting with Kevin and the town team like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this is like moved as fast as possible to start the public engagement process, and we're moving fast.
Okay, and hopefully, and I'll make sure I'll reach out to the town planner separately, but hopefully the commission could be updated monthly, not necessarily with you, but just some type of report either from the town planner or yourself. So, because the commission is the ones ultimately who will be adopting the plan and then presenting to the town council.
Understood.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Other committees?
Thank you for that, Mr. Fitzsimmons. I think I agree. Are you guys going to be updating the demographic and market assessment from the 2016 in terms of forward-looking, populations and where we've been throughout the pandemic and where we're headed, and how that might, influence the areas we'd want to focus on?
Yes, that is part of the existing conditions analysis that we undertake.
Okay. In my experience, doing something that only happens every 10 years, if you plan to actually use it, it's better to make it of really high quality and do it right. So I would like to see this done the proper way. I've read the entire one from 2016. I think a lot of people did a lot of good work there. I think there are reasons why some things maybe didn't get implemented. I would just ask that we do this properly and do it the right way, and take the right time to set a vision for the town. Because that's what, at least the version I read in 2016 was intended to do, and I think we've got a good opportunity to do it again with the right stakeholders. I'd like to see the stakeholder lists. I'd like to see what groups you're thinking of in terms of potential action planning. I'd like to see a lot of that stuff. Maybe it's in the steering committee. You know, I'll get engaged in whatever way is helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, we certainly welcome you and anyone else who wants to be available and provide feedback throughout the process to help guide it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple quick comments, and this is something that I say to any of the professionals in my field as they give presentations and everything else. We've got 7 people up here, 2 people down there. We read a lot, and despite some of the questions that I may have asked this evening, we are very intelligent individuals. So we read, well, yeah, exactly. Like I said, despite the questions I might have asked. But we're intelligent individuals. We're very familiar with the POCD. We're very familiar with a lot of how this planning comes into play. So I appreciate you coming in. It's our first time getting to know each other and everything else. The presentations that we needs to be geared for us and related to our regs and related to planning, right? This presentation is a great presentation for the general public, but there were maybe 2 slides in here that are salient to what we need to do as far as going planning and the process going forward. The timeline is way too broad for us to even look at the timeline. And I'm not trying to be critical, I'm trying to be constructive so that we can work together, so that we can see how things progress. So as you come to us and as we start to work together, if you can be a bit more specific in your slides, that would be hugely helpful. And I promise you, whatever you send us, we will read, and we will not just sit there if we have questions. We will make ourselves very, very obvious with the questions we have. So please, let's be a bit more collaborative, and I'd appreciate that. The last thing, and this is just a semantics thing, this is a public document. It goes out to the public. We're going back and forth on this. Can we not call it a master plan? Please? That is a terrible name. I would like to just rephrase that to something different. It looks, I'm staring at it right now. It says draft the master plan. That does not inspire developing the town and going into a direction for the next 10 years that brings business, opportunity, families, schooling, and growth to our community. So it's not your fault. That's just what it's been termed. I just think we need to change that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that.
I guess with that, Mr. Allenson, perhaps you'd like to give some suggestions. Not at this point in time, but.
Draft POCD would be
There
much
you go.
better.
Anyone else? I guess with that, Mr. Bugini, unless you have any comments, I guess we can wrap this.
No, I don't think necessarily a longer process is better, or, I mean, the last one wasn't the wasn't the best one I've ever read. I've worked on several comprehensive plans, so I think 7 to 8 months is quite enough time, but, you know, if you think we need a couple more months, that's fine, but I think knowing where you want to go and having ideas rather than drawing it out, where people kind of get complacent and could be kind of worse, I think, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think we have a good idea as to where we want to go. It's going to be more of a geographic approach. We've worked with several department heads to sort of envision how they want it to be structured. And yeah, we've done a lot behind the scenes so far to gather ideas and information from town department heads. So I think we have a good direction, and yeah, we look forward to working with Jacob.
Good enough. I guess with that, unless you have any further comments, thank you for coming and giving this presentation, and look forward to you coming before the commission multiple times as this process goes forward.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. Getting to bond releases. If you kind of take over the rest of the agenda, Mr. Bugini.
Bond release, that was for Ferdy Technologies. It was a site plan, 155 East Street. That bond can be released.
Do we have a motion to release the Ferdy Technology 155 East Street bond?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we release the bond for Ferdy Technologies, 155 East Street.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fitzsimmons. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Moving on to the other bonds.
Sunwood Development Corporation, those were just, both of those were this residential bonds. Those both can be released as well.
And again, I'd entertain a motion to release the Sunwood Development bonds for 288 North Street as well as 292 North Street.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we release the bonds for Sunwood Development Corp. 288 North Main Street and Sunwood Development Corp. 292 North Main Street.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fitzsimmons. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? And to wrap up the meeting.
Administrative approvals, any questions on those? November decisions, there is no ZBA meeting in December. Any questions on November decisions?
Any questions on ZBA? Seeing none, there's no additional items on our agenda. At this point in time, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close the Wallingford Planning and Zoning Commission for Monday, December 8th, 2025.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Fitzsimmons. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? At this point in time, the meeting is adjourned. Wishing everyone a very happy holiday season.